Wilson with Best Life Physical Therapy with offices in Louisville, Kentucky, as well as an office in Marietta, Georgia. And I'm here today to tell you about one of the most important ways that we can impact persisting pain. One of the things that I really think is very important in the beginning of kind of starting to tackle this pain that's been there for years and years and it hasn't been able to go away is that to know that we have been doing research, especially over the last 10 years, in brain imaging technology. And so it's updated the facts about pain. And so you may have tried other pain interventions over your lifetime, and they may have kind of left you feeling a little bit less than satisfied because you still have pain. And so I just want you to know that there has been some new updates. And if you haven't visited any practitioners lately who are privy to the new knowledge that there is hope, and there have been thousands of people who have recovered from chronic or persisting pain with these new techniques. And part of it is what we have found is that some of the messages that you might have received before are just simply not true. And that may be why you've tried things before and they haven't helped. So what we're working on before is that everything that was a pain in the body was actually generated by a part of the body. And what we're finding is that, and this is based on research using functional MRIs of the brain. And so they would put people in an MRI machine, and they would see what parts of the people who've had chronic pain for years and years, and they would see what parts of the brain were working and alive. And then they would put someone in the MRI, and then they would make them have a negative emotion. And guess what? The parts of the brain that were working and alive in the people who had chronic pain were also the same areas that were lit up when the person also felt sadness or other emotions. So what we know is that our emotions and our brains and our pain in our body are in the same location in the brain. So when I say that, I mean that there is a connection. And this is something that we've always said about at Best Life Physical Therapy, is that we are all one, mind, body, and spirit. And the way that, and it's actually being proven true through these fMRI studies. And so you can't kind of disconnect the two of the three of those things. They're all one. We have to take a holistic approach and treat it all. So, you'll see us in here doing techniques with our reflexes in our body, and we're working with the brain and the spinal cord and peripheral nerves in the body, and maybe some stuff up here trying to impact the vagus nerve and all that. But if your operating system is kind of, there's parts of your brain that are keeping the tension in your muscles, some of the things that we can calm down and get feeling better in here, it's just going to come back again unless we address the other component, which is the brain component. So I think it's a good combination. They go hand in hand very well together. But as we're doing our home exercises and as we're doing our techniques to help the body get in better alignment and come to the awareness that it can be pain-free, the brain has to come to the awareness that it can be pain-free as well. So one of the things that we want to kind of keep in mind is that the brain has a reciprocal relationship with the body in terms of the body, mind, and the social context. So it could have to do with your mind, but it also could have to do with stressors that are coming into your life through external circumstances such as social connections. So we have the mind, the body, and social context that we have to keep in mind, and they can all kind of play in with each other. And you might think to yourself, well, how can this be? I've obviously got an MRI that shows, I've got a tear in this ligament in my wrist or something like that. But truthfully, there have been a lot of studies that are done that show people who have hugely crazy looking MRIs, and yet they're walking around with no pain. Or there's people who have, after age 20 or so, a herniated disc and they have no pain. So, as in the medical field, we like to go ahead and say, oh, you have pain and you have this test that shows that you have something wrong. It must be because of something wrong on the test that you have the pain. We can do a surgery for that. But actually the research on surgery isn't that great either. And so sometimes we, have surgery and then you still have pain, or you have surgery and there's a potential for a side effect that could have happened, or a risk that could happen with any kind of surgery that we have. So it's really worth it to give this a shot. So one of the things you're going to have to try to do is try to kind of process in your brain that the pain is not processed in the body part where you feel it. It's actually processed in the same part of the brain that the emotions are produced. And that's really why two people can have the same injury but have two really different experiences of pain. So the way your brain and nervous system experiences pain is unique to you. So it's learning all the time. That's what we call neuroplasticity. And after we've been in pain for a while, we kind of start to have this default setting that, actually it's called sensitization. It means that we kind of feel pain a little bit more and more and more. We get a little bit sensitized to pain. That it causes us to be inadvertently oversensitive to normal stimuli, and it sounds. All of this kind of sounds scary, like it could be even irreversible. But we see these changes on the fMRI, and we know that actually we can do something about it. And so one of the first ways to do that is just accept that we can always be reprogrammed by using neuroplasticity. And so that's one of the things that we're going to do with that is identify and resolve the issues. And use this method. So there are going to be different steps that we got to take, but the first step is acknowledging that some of these symptoms are actually what we call mind-body symptoms instead of actual, coming from that specific joint. So it's created in our brain and it's up here and it's causing pain, wherever that pain is down there, but there's not something structurally wrong with that area. Especially if it's something that, yesterday you were fine and today you're hurting and then tomorrow you're fine again. Or say it's a problem that you go on vacation and the pain goes away. Or it only happens when you sit in a certain chair. Or you can be fine and then all of a sudden you're hurting again. And if that were the case, like if there were something structurally wrong with you, you wouldn't be fine ever. It would be structurally wrong, something's wrong, and it would just hurt all the time. So sometimes there are people who hurt all the time and it is still mind-body pain. But I just want you to kind of think about that. If you fall into any of these categories, if your pain worsens with stress, you have stressors, and the pain gets worse, then you could fall into the category of mind-body pain. And just so you know, it's possible to have something structurally wrong and also have mind-body pain. So we can decrease some of that pain that we have just by using some of these techniques. So one of the things that we typically do when we're in pain, in kind of persisting pain, this is something I've noticed with my patients and I point it out to them all the time, we do something called catastrophizing. And what catastrophizing means is that we kind of take a small little incident and we kind of start to build it up into something even worse and worse and worse. Like if I can't do this, then I won't be able to do that, and when I won't be able to do that, we won't be able to do this, and then I won't be able to go to my son's wedding, So, and it's like, whoa, how'd you get from here to there so fast? And so what we're going to try to do is to start to do a little thought check and try to see if some of the ideas and thoughts in our mind, because thoughts don't necessarily bring truth. There may be some thoughts that are actually just thoughts and they're not true. So research shows that changing thought processes can decrease symptoms in just a month's time. And within a couple of months, you can be completely pain-free. Think about that. Within a couple of months, you can be completely pain-free. Do you dare to believe that? Do you dare to believe that some of your pain is actually coming from a mind-body component? And so do you dare to believe that we can actually turn the volume down on your symptoms? So the only way is to acknowledge that the pain is coming from the brain. And to acknowledge that is the first step. So I'm Erin Wilson with Best Life Physical Therapy, and if you'd like to know more about the other 5 steps that are really required to do this program, then go ahead and check out that next video on the 5 things you can do to help with your persisting pain.